Let me begin with a simple observation. In the early stages of a business, intuition works. The founder knows the customer, understands the market, reads situations quickly, makes decisions based on experience. And often that leads to results. But here is the turning point. What works in the early stage stops working as the business grows, and that is where many MSMEs get stuck because they continue to rely on intuition even when the business has outgrown it. Now let me share the important thing, the power and limit of intuition, because intuition has both. Let us first acknowledge something important. Intuition is not wrong. In fact, it is valuable. It is built through experience, through observation, through repeated exposure to real situations. Many founders have built their businesses on strong intuition, and that deserves respect. But intuition has a limitation. It is personal. It cannot be easily transferred. It cannot be consistently replicated, and it cannot scale across a team. Now the question is, when intuition starts breaking down, and that is very important to identify. There comes a stage in every growing MSME where intuition begins to show cracks. You start noticing these. Different team members approach sales differently. Outcomes become inconsistent. Decisions vary based on who is handling the deal, and suddenly the founder feels the need to intervene more often, not because the team is weak, but because the system is undefined. This is the moment when intuition is no longer enough. Let me share my own reflection from my real experience. In my own journey, handling large sales responsibilities and later working closely with MSME founders, I have seen this transition very clearly. In the early phase, intuition drives momentum. But as the scale increases, reliance on intuition creates variability. I remember situations where two salespeople handled similar opportunities very differently. One converted, the other did not. And the difference was not effort, it was approach. And that is when it becomes clear. Without a defined system, outcomes depend on individuals, and that is not sustainable. Now, how do you shift from intuition to design? The maturity shift happens when a founder moves from "I know how sales works" to "we have designed how sales works." This is a fundamental transition because now sales is no longer dependent on the founder's personal understanding. It is embedded into the system, defined, structured, repeatable. Now, let's understand what designing sales actually means. Designing sales does not mean overcomplicating it. It means making implicit knowledge explicit. It means defining stages of a deal, clarifying qualification criteria, structuring conversations, standardizing follow-up approaches, creating visibility into the pipeline. In simple terms, it means turning intuition into a process. Now you may ask why this transition feels difficult. Many founders resist this transition, not consciously but naturally, because design feels slower than intuition. Intuition allows quick decisions. Design requires thinking, documentation, alignment, and it may feel like why complicate something that already works. But what is often missed is this: it works only as long as the founder is directly involved. The moment scale increases, gaps begin to appear. Now, let me decode the cost of staying in intuition. If a business continues to operate purely on intuition, several problems emerge. Inconsistency across the team, difficulty in training new members, lack of predictability, increased founder dependency. And over time, growth becomes harder because intuition does not scale, design does. Now, here is a deeper shift from individual intelligence to organizational intelligence, and this is a powerful shift. When sales is intuition driven, intelligence resides in individuals. When sales is design driven, intelligence resides in the system. This means the organization becomes smarter, not just founder, and that is the foundation of scalability. There is a subtle principle worth reflecting on. Clarity transforms potential into expression. In business terms, this means your experience has value, but unless it is structured, it remains limited. When you convert that experience into design, it becomes transferable, and that is how individual capability becomes organizational strength. Now, the question is, how do you know that you are ready for this shift? Let's move from intuition to design now. There are three clear indicators. First, you are repeatedly involved in sales decisions. Second, different team members produce different outcomes for similar opportunities. Third, you find it difficult to explain your sales approach clearly to others. If you see these signs, your business has outgrown intuition. Now, what changes after the shift? When sales moves from intuition to design, several things begin to change. Consistency improves because everyone follows a structured approach. Decision making becomes easier because there is clarity on process. Founder dependency reduces because the system supports execution. And most importantly, growth becomes possible because now sales is not dependent on individual capability, it is supported by organizational design. Now, in order for this to happen, there is the founder's new role. In this phase, the founder's role evolves from doer to designer, from closer of deals to builder of systems. This is a significant shift because it allows the founder to move from involvement in every deal to ownership of how deals are handled. Intuition builds the foundation of a business, but design builds its future. If you continue to rely only on intuition, growth will always remain limited. But when you convert intuition into structure, something powerful happens. Your business becomes independent of individual effort and starts operating through clarity. That is the turning point, where sales stops being instinct driven and becomes system driven. If this episode helped you reflect on whether your sales approach is still dependent on intuition, consider sharing it with another founder or sales leader who may be at this turning point. You can also follow the MSME Growth Hub podcast as we continue exploring how to move from instinct-led selling to structured systems.